Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. And today, I'm back up in my office studio with the art behind me and all of that. It's really warm up here today. I've been running up and down the stairs, so maybe sweating a little bit. But got my headphones on. I got brown hair and brown eyes, and I'm wearing a Greenwood District Studios t-shirt. So shout out to GDS and all the good work they're doing at the old Lansing Mall Theater. Today's guest is a great friend. I feel like we've known each other forever.
I know.
How you doing today, Andrea?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me, Jerry. It's so nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too. And I know we're rushing a little bit and all of that, but we got this, right?
We got this. I'm a sprinter. I like to move fast.
And everyone might notice that you're sitting in the sanctuary of the Fledge, just from a little bit different angle than I do sometimes. So thanks for coming over and visiting us too.
Absolutely. It's great to see what's going on around here.
Thank you. So we start out with talking about you before we get into your projects and all of that.
Okay.
What can you tell us about you, like where you were born and raised and where you went to school and some of the things you did before you went to Castle Financial?
Sure. I grew up in northern Michigan. In fact, my folks still live in Gaylord. Fun fact about my parents, my maiden name is Reagan and my mom's name is Nancy Reagan. So she's always memorable. And my parents are in Gaylord. I grew up there. I came down to East Lansing to go to Michigan State University and never left the community. I also feel like the community kind of hugged me. Right after college, I got some internships in downtown Lansing. I started to really like downtown Lansing, and then I stayed downtown, moved to Old Town, and eventually met my husband and moved in with him, and now we live in downtown East Lansing, and we love it.
Yeah. And so when you and I met, was that through the Capital Area IT Council?
Actually, Jerry, I think we met when I was at the Lansing Economic Development Corporation.
Oh, okay.
So I got my degree at Michigan State in community agriculture, recreation, resource services. But what does that really mean? And it's the shorter version that I usually tell people is community development. I got my degree in community development with a bunch of other stuff because I wanted to know about a bunch of other stuff. But then I spent the first, decade and a half of my adult life in Lansing doing the community development stuff. So I wore a couple different hats. I was at the Lansing Economic Development Corporation. I'd tried out some downtown development before that. And then after that, you and I got re-met, I guess, when I was with the Capital Area IT Council and doing some IT and workforce development at that time. So, yeah, we just keep running into each other.
Yeah, so those were back in my JDN days.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I had a memory pop up this morning from 2006 on Facebook with Verge Bonero and Bob Trezise and a bunch of people from the LEDC and our banker and everything cutting a ribbon for JDN.
And that's when it was. I was at the EDC. Those were my homies at the time, and that's what we did. So it's great to see all that you do and all the iterations of your career, and it's fun to live all the iterations of mine and keep running into each other. Yeah.
So what do you love so much about Lansing?
Oh, man. What don't I love about Greater Lansing? It's funny because you already mentioned his name and I haven't talked to him in a long time, but my old boss, Bob Trezise, who still runs Lansing Economic Area Partnership, he said it once to me when I was a young professional, and he was like, people don't really think of a capital city as big business, but big business happens in a capital city. This is a place where decisions are made. And my husband is a lobbyist, and so now I understand, yes, this is a place where decisions are made and big business is happening all the time. And the community that kind of changed and evolved around me that I got to be involved with through my community development work. Also just, I don't know, even though I don't live in Lansing, I live in East Lansing and we're all kind of one big community, I still take a lot of ownership over just the vibe and the enrichment in the community in this area because I think it's full of good people and big business and big decisions. So.
Yeah. And I noticed you said Greater Lansing. That's something we try to do too, because it's more than just Lansing. And you're obviously, how's East Lansing going? You said you live downtown?
I do. I live in Chesterfield Hills, so it's pretty close to downtown, but in this cute little neighborhood that's just ridiculously idyllic. It's windy and it's cute, and I can't believe I went to Michigan State for 4 years without knowing that this neighborhood even existed. But I love it. It kind of keeps us close to both. I mean, we can get anywhere from our house in the greater Lansing area in about 20 minutes. We can go north, south, Capitol, campus, wherever we're going. It's pretty accessible, so we love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Do you love all the big buildings going up?
Oh man, I mean, I love community development. It's hard not to love the development side of that a little bit, but it is a big change. You know, one of the benefits of living in East Lansing and having gone to MSU is that when other MSU alums and friends come to town and want to visit, they always had a place to stay. And we've just been texting all our friends pictures, be like, you will not recognize East Lansing. You will not recognize the community. But I think, man, the skyline is changing, and let's just see where it goes.
Yeah. The big buildings going into East Lansing, Red Cedar, are really throwing me off. I mean, I'm like, where am I? This is weird.
I do feel lost. Like on my drive home, sometimes I have to like do a gut check, be like, where am I? And yeah, we're getting off the exit. Recently, my parents came to visit, and they were disoriented getting off the exit that they always take to our house. So it's definitely a change.
Yeah. So let's talk about Castle Financial. What you're doing now.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Oh man, what's it all about? I'm all about it. I changed careers about 3 or 4 years ago into financial services. And that was a pretty big change from talent and workforce development. But actually, I always have to stop on this point because I made that decision partially because of what I knew about workforce and talent development. And the workforce side of things, there's actually 7,000 less financial advisors in the United States every year. They are either retiring or selling their books of business, or in some cases passing away, because people love this career so much. Sometimes they'll just literally work until the day they die. So there's 7,000 less advisors every year. And when I started to look at that, and I had I was young and very not wealthy, but still had a financial advisor myself who had approached me at one point, and what she was saying made sense. And so I had kind of already understood the value of planning and financial services, even though I wasn't as fully engaged. And then when I looked at the workforce numbers, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, well, everybody needs this, and there's so much less of it. And then sure enough, my financial advisor recruited me and helped train me. And eventually I found my way to Castle Financial Partners because my partners there, we all practice with the same values system of trust and transparency. And we like to do financial services with real people and real families and serve our community in Greater Lansing. So I made a career change about 4 years ago, and then it took me a little bit to find home. So I've been with Castle Financial Partners now about 6 months, but it couldn't be going better. We are having so much fun, and I've been very, very busy, and yeah, that's what we're about. That's what I'm doing now.
So do you have a specialty like retirement or anything like that? Or is it the whole gamut?
It's really the whole gamut because there's a lot of different ways to plan. But this is something I've said since I was in, I don't even know what job before I was a financial planner, but that it's easier to change a plan than not have one. And so I really try to look at the whole plan of what are all the key pieces and how do they fit together, because that matters. And that's not what every firm or financial professional does. Everybody kind of has their own specialty, but yeah, it's the planning part that is my specialty, and the real people part that is my specialty. I really like to take a creative and practical approach because, money will not solve all your problems, but it can absolutely make the hardest days in your life easier if we plan right. So that's what I like about it, is the holistic scope.
Is there a particular archetype that is like your customer? Like, do you help women more than men? Do you help anybody in particular more than others? I'm
so glad you asked. It's one of the reasons I was thrilled to be here. But, you hit a couple of key points. There's nobody I wouldn't help. If someone, that's one of the reasons I just love talking about what I do and bubbling over about it, because people don't always know where to go when they do need help. So I just want to throw it out there that you will find help at our firm if you want it, when you want it, no matter who you are or what your financial situation is. And some of the people that I really like to work with are actually like you, Jerry. They're thought leaders and entrepreneurs. And that's who I'm working with now at Castle Financial Partners, right? Castle was founded in 2017. And I wasn't there yet, but it's a homegrown local firm. And I'll tell you why. Entrepreneurs deserve as much financial security as anyone punching a time card that has an employer umbrella over their head, right? That comes with a lot of financial security. People talk about it all the time. And I feel very strongly that people that make courageous business decisions, like to start businesses or start your own business or try to be your business in any kind of way, I love taking just a thoughtful and practical approach to mapping out what are your personal assets, what are your business assets, what are your personal needs, what are your business needs, because I think entrepreneurs and business owners deserve that kind of security as much as anyone else with any other kind of job. But you also said women, and I don't want to miss that part. I really enjoy working with women who want to work with women. And I'll tell you why. I haven't been in the industry for very long, but I can tell you that, well, number one, we as Americans don't like to talk about money. And if we do, women are sometimes or often left out of the conversation or talked over. And so I really enjoy being able to work with anyone who wants to have a conversation, but working with women who might want to work with women who might want a softer touch, because I want them to feel helped and listened to, not sold or talked over.
Yeah. We're always mansplaining everything, aren't we?
Sometimes. I mean, also the entire financial industry is male dominated, so they all can't help it. There's plenty of good advisors in there too. But just being who I am, if I can help empower women over their financials, I certainly want to do so.
Well, I think it's super important that, you get to talk to somebody who looks like you or understands you or relates to you. Because I can't, I look at 2020 as the year when, like, single mother, or not single mothers, but mothers, they're probably making a little less than their husband only because of the bias in the salaries, the 72% that women get paid compared to men.
Yeah.
So when you have to make that financial decision, it was probably a lot of the women said, all right, I'll stay home with the kids, you make a little bit more, and we'll do it this way. And I just see women getting set back in 2020 because of that. Do you think that's true? That's a hypothesis I've had.
It's not a hypothesis, and I don't have the data in front of me, but I can tell you from my workforce brain, just being in a lot of women's groups, women's networking groups, women's entrepreneurial groups, and then also just from my experience in financial services, that what you said is absolutely true. It's true for right now. Women left the workforce a lot during the pandemic, and not all of them have come back. There is a huge issue there. And I just want to take a minute and talk about how women earning less or even leaving their jobs for a household financial plan or work plan compounds the financial impact over time. Because if you're not, let's just take a man and a woman with the same job where she makes less, for a long, long time, but she saves less. She retires on less. She carries less forward, and that has a compounding effect. And so then you multiply that times all the women in the United States, that has a big effect. And I'm pretty passionate about trying to, like I said, empower women really in any way. Because when I was in workforce and talent development, it was like, it's your career, make it what you want. And now I'm like, it's your financial plan. It's easier to change a plan than not have one. What do you want it to do? What do you need? Because I think, to your point, women have some unique needs. And I don't think that those needs have been addressed by most of the professionals in the financial services market before.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I don't love that they didn't address their needs.
No, thanks for asking. I love the conversation, and I love what I'm doing too. Thank you.
So a lot of times I think I've talked to a couple of insurance agents, about life insurance and things like that. I've talked to another financial advisor or two, and I really want to go to maybe a difficult spot for a second, but nothing, because you're going to help enlighten us, I'm sure.
I will keep it legal and compliant too. Yeah.
So in Lansing, 27% of us live below poverty. 55% of us live below the ALICE threshold. So basically working check to check. And then when you add an entrepreneur in there who's just, probably getting food out of the food stand to eat as they're trying to get their business up off the ground, how do you make space for saving? How do you make space for a financial plan? I mean, it all seems daunting and super expensive. And, is that?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and not just for this area, this time, and that market, but for millennials. Most millennials, I mean, at this point, and I mean myself, like people who are anywhere from 25 to 40 have lived through a housing crisis and now a pandemic and any other financial crises that happened in between. And then all of those other pieces that you mentioned. So I think that's a really important question, because ultimately so many people, including everyone that you asked about, think that financial services doesn't apply to them.
Right.
And the thing of it is that with there being fewer financial advisors in the market every year, that's kind of correct. Because when there's fewer advisors, who do the advisors want to advise?
Yeah.
People with money.
Yeah.
Because if you can get paid more for your time, that's what most people will chase. And so that, I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head with one of the things that I want to try to correct in the world, in my life. I mean, my work is my gospel at this point, because I think everybody deserves a conversation. And to answer your question more fully, it is absolutely hard and sometimes not always possible to make space for saving right away. But I can tell you for sure, we won't know until we have a conversation. Yeah. And most people, my personal mission, Jerry, it's very simple. Everyone I talk to, I want them to have a better relationship with money than the day before we spoke. Okay. Because that's the first step, right? You have to, and honestly, the first step is having a conversation. Most people don't want to talk about money. Anything that they may have talked about or heard about money from their parents or family or neighbor or uncle at Thanksgiving may or may not apply to them because of all the other circumstances I pointed out and that you pointed out. So it's interesting that you say that, but yeah, I want everyone to have a better relationship with money than the day before we spoke. And it doesn't mean we enact a plan when we talk about a plan necessarily, but I can tell you for sure, it is easier to change a plan than not have one. And it is the only place you can start is where you start. You start where you are and you do what you can.
Yeah. So $5 a month can still add up, right? I mean,
absolutely. I mean, yes. I would even break it down further. $1 a week, $4 a month. Yeah. That compounds and adds up. And then saving isn't the only component. Making room is really important. I would say starting a conversation is an important first step, but making room in your budget's an important next step. Yeah. And then another key piece is to continue the conversation. Because here's what I see a lot, having been in the industry for a couple of years, is people get a financial plan, or they have maybe a meeting or two with a planner and they learn some things and they change some things. And then mentally they're like, so much smarter than I was last year. Box checked. Had a financial plan, and before you know it, 2 years goes by, 5 years, 10 years. Did you take that person's advice? Did that person know what they were talking about? Does that advice still apply to you in your right now self? So continuing the conversation once you start to enact a plan is also really important. I try to be as pleasantly persistent in following up with people as I can, because that's part of my job. It's just helping people talk about it and helping them remember to talk about it and to keep going.
So I want to go in so many directions.
I know.
Right now.
I feel like we could do this all day.
Let me. Let's make a disclaimer. If we talk about none of this is advice, except for plan and come talk to Andrea.
Right.
But stocks or crypto or savings or insurance, none of this is advice, because every individual has to make decisions based on their circumstance and all of that. But I guess I'm going to go down like the online banks that are coming, Robinhood. The iPhone made everybody a photographer, right? And is really hurting the photography industry at some level. Yeah. And Robinhood and Stash are making everybody a day trader, right? Yep. Everybody's a financial wizard now. Mm-hmm. How do you see that as getting in your way? Is it a supplement to what you do? Is it?
Oh, it's interesting that you asked that. First, I consider it a barrier. And I actually consider it one of the barriers on the menu of barriers, because, like I was saying before, anyone from 20 to 50 right now thinks that they don't need a financial planner because they don't feel like they have any money. Mm-hmm. And so number one, they think that they don't need a planner. They do. And probably, I would love to have that conversation. That other piece, though, of financial services is changing. Or now, after this particular chapter, we can't trust the stock market. Why bother with a retirement plan that's based on that? Or the cryptocurrency thing. A lot of people will want to funnel their funds or their plan towards something that's all new and are all in. And I think that, this was the last piece, the internet. The internet creates a lot of access to information for people, which is great information. It also means everybody thinks that they can find the answer to their financial problems on the internet, right? I'm just going to Google it. And it's like, well, Google is not going to take into account your feelings, your inheritance, your situation, anything. They're not going to pick a direction for you. And of course, you can Google anything you want, and everything we see on the internet is true, right?
Yeah.
So
as long as you use Fibonacci numbers in your lottery tickets, you're gonna make
win.
Money. Yes.
Right. So there's no crystal ball, and the internet doesn't work for that. So I do think that it's interesting because it creates access to information and information can definitely help people, but it's just information. That's only the tool. How do you use it? And that's where working with a financial professional helps them use that information, because we as humans, we're rhythmic creatures. We're going to default to what we know and what we learned. And that's where as a financial professional, I really like the part about my job that's the coaching part. We're going to stay connected. We're going to stay involved. We're going to keep going. We get to have a relationship. And I think that's what Robinhood, E-Trade, Dave Ramsey, and I don't think a lot of people learn a lot from Dave Ramsey, but he's not going to text him back if they have a question, right? So I think there's a lot of information that can help a lot of people that is very readily available. And ultimately, I still think it's going to come down to people and connection and services and coaching. And that's where I haven't heard anyone use language like mine, but people really do have a relationship with their money, right? Because that's a relationship with your time. That's a relationship with your job. And so helping anyone have a relationship with their money, you're not going to find that in cryptocurrency or the internet or on Robinhood. But I do like all those tools and how they create access for people to the information that can help them.
Yeah. I often think, debt is selling your future and savings is buying your future. And people, I use that quite a bit because a debt, that's going to be there. If a startup takes out a loan and the startup fails, they still got to pay the debt.
Absolutely.
And so you just sold a chunk of your pie, your future pie, I guess. Can we go to crypto for just a moment?
Sure.
I know that, it's super high risk. It's volatile. It's hard for most people to understand. They get in it for the wrong reason sometimes. They get in it at the wrong time. Buying Bitcoin at 66,000 probably isn't a good move right now, or it's not that anymore.
Right.
Do you deal in that space at all? Is that an asset that you talk to people about?
It's an asset that comes up at almost every meeting, but it's not an asset that I participate in managing or advising, and I'll tell you why. Financial services, even though we get to have this great conversation very openly, financial services is very heavily regulated. And in fact, those regulations have improved, in my opinion, to the benefit of the clients and the customers just in the years since I joined the industry. In the last 4 years, there's when I first started, there was a new rule that came out about a fiduciary responsibility and who that rule applies to. And it applies even to front end office staff or anyone that's talking about a financial plan. They now have a fiduciary responsibility to clients. And so I think that the regulation is moving in the direction of being much more customer and client friendly. And cryptocurrency is the Wild West. Yeah. There is no financial regulation or anything that ties into any kind of future planning, any kind of levity, or anything that people can work into their financial plan in a real way. It's just not there yet. The infrastructure around cryptocurrency and being able to use that as part of a financial plan just isn't there yet.
Yeah. I don't know. It was fun playing with the ICOs, the initial coin offerings in the beginning, but they were so risky and so harmful to people. I did like that the SEC took some action there.
Yes.
Completely unregulated, I think people would get damaged. And
that's the thing. There's no safety net for people that may want to invest in it. And that's where, as an advisor, we're trying to come up with a plan that's going to work. So cryptocurrency stays in in the client's sort of play area money for now, because it's just not part of our platform for those reasons, because we can advise on it in a way that we know will be good for the client. Then we can't be advising on it because that's our job.
Yeah. Well, thanks for taking that little tangent, and
Sure.
Thank you, Elon Musk, for rejecting Bitcoin yesterday and screwing up the whole market. So, what I think I kind of have an idea of what your mission is here. How would you articulate what your mission is?
Yeah, I say it a lot of different ways, and it's come out a little already. I mean, helping people have a better relationship with money, or even understand that they have a relationship with money. Because I think a lot of people just think it's, even if they're planning or working with another planner, they think it's a spreadsheet or a checklist. And to me, it's not. Like, all the key pieces of your financial future matter, and we want them to sing and play together like keys on a piano. So those are a couple ways I say it. I was thinking about what you asked about, like who I like to work with and entrepreneurs. And one of the ways I pitch myself to that market sometimes is that I manage stress. That is what I do. I manage finances, but who do you know that doesn't have financial stress?
Yeah.
And so that's the part I like. I like having real conversations. I like understanding how people feel about their plan. I don't like doing work I don't have to do, right? So going through the motions or pitching plans that people can't connect with doesn't interest me. I'm an entrepreneur too, and I want my work to matter to other people. And in order to do that, I really want that connection to be genuine. So to create that, I try to come in and as open and honest as a way that I can, so that people know whatever your feelings are about money. If you're ashamed of the debt you did take out before you knew better, or the business that you launched that didn't go, whatever that might be, people have feelings about all those decisions, and that will keep them from doing really important work in planning, or calling an advisor, or asking a trusted friend, what should I do? I mean, the feelings matter to me. They matter to the other people. It's just my job to kind of bring out why they matter to your money. And then I manage their finances or their relationship with their finances, however I can be helpful.
What's something you do every damn day to push that mission forward?
Oh, I feel like a big cliche, but meditate. I meditate a lot, especially after this pandemic. I got to get centered, because that helps me know when the clients are centered and when what I'm doing is meaningful. So I'm one of those people. I'm kind of Zen. Yeah,
I think that's, I did it this morning. We have therapy Thursdays, and we always breathe and meditate and stretch. And it's so good to get in that moment and see what's really going on sometimes.
Yes, it's funny that you said that. Sometimes mine is a moving meditation where I'll stand up at my desk and I'll read my mission, and then I'll do like some arm and shoulder circles or some wrist circles to like Castle Financial Partners, and I'll spell it out, or planning with Andrea, and I'll be able to get some movement in and just breathe in my mission so that I can push it back out of my mouth when I'm talking to other people about it.
You guys don't all go out in the parking lot and stand out there and do Castle?
Oh my gosh, no! It's really only me. They can hear me. They're like, "Are you doing arm circles? Are you doing squats at your desk again? You're breathing." And I'm like, "No, I'm meditating," because I'll be breathing heavily. So it's me. I'm the Zen one. Nice. But listen, I got great business partners. They are fun to work with in all of their own ways too.
So, there's something I think you and I should sit down and talk about, not necessarily live on the show.
Okay.
But you got me thinking about, if somebody lives in poverty, for example, and it's going to be, it's super hard. Your opportunity kind of closes in around you, right? Yeah. And if you're trying to feed your kids tonight, and you show up and say, you need to save money, they're going to say, get the hell out of my way. I got to feed my kids. So the ability to see into the future, it's not necessarily, it gets suppressed and it gets put to the side when you have an urgent need like that. And I wonder what the evolution might look like, as to when a person is better or is ready. All right, they've been doing $5 a month, and now, maybe they should buy a stock, or maybe they should buy $10 a stock, and maybe they should invest some of that. I wonder what that looks like and what it feels like, because it just seems over. I mean, I came from poverty. It seems overwhelming. It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
And Yeah.
I didn't come from poverty, but I did come from very modest, humble Midwestern upbringing. So I understand your question, and I take it really seriously because, well, when I started in financial services, I was being recruited and trained and trained and trained and trained. And the training is sell. People need this. Sell it. They really need it. And people do need what we're selling in financial services. Absolutely. But to your point, it's about meeting people where they're at. And I know that phrase gets used a lot, but it's really true here. Yeah. Because it was actually backing up to our conversation here when you said something about, I don't know, something earlier about, then they save and great. And I'm like, right, but keep the conversation going, because a lot of people get to that point where they've done a little bit better. And like I said, they sort of mentally check the box and don't know how to take the next step. So my response to that is, number one, if someone is selling something in a way that makes you feel bad, don't buy it. I don't care if it's financial services or anything else. Like, this is where feelings matter and conversations matter. Now, here's the other thing from my end that I try to have a delicate approach about, because people are coming from very financially stressed times. Even people that had a plan before this or money to plan before a pandemic, let me tell you, those plans changed a lot. So understanding that financial stress and still being willing to approach someone is about asking a question. What do you need? What's keeping you up at night? And if you're not, as a financial professional, if I'm not talking about what's keeping them up at night, I'm not doing my job. So there are a lot of people trying to sell a lot of different things, but it's really getting to that question of what's meaningful to that person in that moment, whether they're a client or not. I just kind of consider everyone I'm talking to about financial services a client, like a spirit client. I'm like, I'm going to try my best to advocate for your financial future, whatever that looks like. And I will even be that person who will advocate for their financial future to them, even when it's hard, to say, look, I know right now you don't feel like you have two pennies to rub together. And I see the potential in your business idea as much as you do. And when it's going, I hope you'll call me, because I think you're going to make some money. And I think that the stress is going to ease and lead into new stress. And I want to make sure that you know who I am. So when you need help, I'm here. And that's part of the relationship part. But that's not about a sale. Yes, I think there are a lot of people who used to treat this business like vacuum salesmen, right?
Yeah.
And some of them still do. That's not what I'm doing.
So in about 1997, the first JDN's getting off the ground. My brother works for me. Another friend works for me, and we're down to like $30. That's all we have in the bank account.
Yeah.
So we withdrew it, filled up the gas tank of $20, and drove to Soaring Eagle. Yeah. And we tripled it. So we came home with $60, probably lost a little bit on the gas and all of that.
Yeah.
That seems like a lot more fun than just saving it and trying to make it.
Would you be telling that same story and smiling that big if you lost all $30? I
don't think we cared. I think we just wanted to go try to get a free drink.
And listen, fun matters. Fun matters. I talk a lot about feelings, and I think that means like everybody's supposed to break down in a puddle of tears at meetings. And that's not true. I laugh at a lot of our meetings too, because people do want to have fun, and it's important to have fun. It's just really important to have fun with money that you can afford to have fun with. Yeah. And to answer your question fully from before too, I know it's hard when people come out of that most stressful and risky feeling financial situation. It's easy to feel like you're ahead pretty fast when you're not as stressed. Yeah. And that's actually, I would say that portion of my planning relationship with my clients and others is the least fun. That's the least fun chapter. I just want to go ahead and pull the Band-Aid off of that for anybody listening. That's not fun, because that's when you're being coached. That's when you're learning what to do next. And it doesn't always feel good. It doesn't feel like you're getting ahead yet.
Yeah.
But you will. It's a time. It's a slow drip. Just like people not making enough money compounds over time, saving and planning a little through the non-fun stages gets more fun over time.
Did you know that Einstein couldn't wrap his head around compound interest? Like he couldn't understand it. It made no sense to him.
Yeah, I believe that.
That's funny to me.
It's funny to me too.
All right, we're going to switch modes a little bit, and we daisy chain the shows together. And yesterday on the show, I had Mr. Joe Walker, the champ, and his question that he wanted me to ask you is how does technology help you in your mission?
Ooh. How does technology help me in my mission? That's a great question. I think I actually kind of partially answered it before. Technology creates access to the information that I want to talk about, which is great because then people know what we're talking about. They can look it up. They can fact check all they want. They can do that. But also technology helps in how we connect with people through financial services, because financial services, even now in the age of technology, there is so much paper. You know, let's say, hypothetical. Jerry, I've met with you and your delightful partner and talked about all your wonderful children, and we've got this great plan, and we've had an open and honest conversation. I've advised you on what I think you should do next. And you're like, Andrea, that sounds great. What should we do next? I'm going to hand you about a stack of paperwork this high to make you do stuff. But with, e-applications and other types of things, it doesn't always speed up the pace of the financial returns necessarily because that's still regulated the same way. But it definitely can make the client interaction easier and provide access to them actually taking action on their plan versus not wanting to sign all those papers or trying to set up another time to come by their house to get these things signed, or some of the other things that create barriers to people actually enacting the plan. Technology solves those problems for us. And I like that it helps people actually take the steps to move forward.
Yeah. So, the paper, it makes me laugh because I was thinking about this. I was actually looking at something yesterday. I get these envelopes from Apex Clearing, but they're sent on behalf of Stash. And I've got this Stash debit card that I put money into, and it earns a little bit of interest. But every time I use it, like if it's at the dollar store, because that's one of the companies, I get a little bit of stock from the dollar store. But usually it's like a penny. Yeah. And they send me a paper statement that costs 45 cents just to mail. Not even counting the envelope and the paper and the processing time. That blew me away, and I can't figure out a way to go green with it. And I had a huge stack. Do I need to save those? No, I'm just kidding. I threw them all.
Listen, there's an app for that, I'm pretty sure. Oh, that's another way it helps me meet my mission is technology helps me run my business through expense tracking, receipt tracking, all those things. I can do that from an app. And not having to, that makes everything different too. But yeah, you're right on the money. They will send, I don't even know how many paper bills to get a bill paid. And it's like when you stack that up in the end of the day, who knows? But technology definitely helps me meet my mission, and I appreciate it very much.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to think about the question for Andre Brown?
I did, but it's unrelated to business. I hope that's okay.
It's what I want.
Worst vacation story. I was asked that at a party once, and I had never thought about it, but I have a really bad vacation story, and it was pretty funny once we got laughing about it. So I like to ask that of others when I can.
Well, that's good because I turned that question on you.
Oh,
and
shoot.
What's your worst vacation story?
I should have seen that coming when I said I had one. I love to travel. And I love to travel both domestically and globally. My worst vacation was my second international trip. My first international trip, I studied abroad in college. So that was pretty structured, right? I was a student, so university kind of had me. But my first international trip as a grown-up with other people did not go well. I'm not in touch with, I traveled with two other people. There were three of us. None of us are in touch with each other and haven't been since that trip. We went backpacking in Central America. So I go big or go home. But we went backpacking in Central America, and we were going through Honduras, Guatemala, and Belize. And the two companions I was traveling with didn't get along and wouldn't get along, even though we'd all agreed to travel together. So I was trying to do relationships management with both, but then I was trying to meet new people and just have fun because these two were so stressful. I ended up hiking through those countries like I was carrying, 3 backpacks, 2 of whom were bitching at each other. Excuse me.
We swear on the show.
Sorry, good, because it was one of those things. But Jerry, I'll tell you what, the takeaway was worth it. It was a terrible vacation. I mean, going through 3 countries with people who are fighting and trying to just like handle that stress, make friends and sleep in bunk beds in hostels all over Central America. Like there's a level of stress to that. And I came back from that trip feeling like I could do anything. Like if I could do that with them, I could travel by myself. Like that sounds a lot easier actually. So luckily that trip led me to taking a lot of trips, and it was a very empowering result. But holy moly, there was lots of memories, but that trip sucked.
I'd have just abandoned all McAfee's hanging out in Belize. I would have went and found him.
Yeah, something. I mean,
crypto with him.
Yeah.
All right.
So I want to hear. Now I'm gonna have to listen tomorrow. This is a great tool because I want to hear someone else's worst vacation story.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Yeah, and actually, I'm going to add an addendum to that question, and whether or not there was any kind of positive outcome.
Okay, I'll add that to it.
Cool, thanks.
What is happiness to you, and are you happy?
Oh,
we're getting to the deep stuff now.
We are. And I mean, wow, your question, I heard it deeply because I am so happy. I am very, very happy. I don't always like this word for the connotation it carries with others, but I feel very blessed. I know I cultivated a lot of joy, but I have just a phenomenal partner. I have phenomenal business partners who are great leaders and great supporters. I've got this wonderful community. I had a client stop me in the middle of a meeting last week. And I mean, let me set the stage. We're in a Zoom meeting, so not unlike this. I had a bad hair day, so my hair's in a scrunchie, and I'm already feeling kind of bad hair day, client meeting on video. And I'm presenting a bunch of often overwhelming financial information as we're sharing screens. And the client interrupted me to be like, "You look so happy." And I was like, I am. I love what I'm doing. Like every door I walk through and in my daily life right now holds something pretty good behind it. And so I'm just really, really grateful. And so many people are hurting right now in so many ways. I feel the grief and the gratitude, just right alongside each other for everything I have. And it motivates me to just give what I have and keep doing what I'm doing because I am very happy. Thank you for asking. And thanks for hearing. That was a long answer.
No, it's perfect. What gives you hope?
What gives me hope? The youth of the future and the way they're going to run the world when we are not. I get very hopeful when I have friends screenshotting what their emotionally intelligent things their teenagers are doing or texting to each other, or things that children in my life have said right to me. I just got chills when I said that because I was thinking of a specific moment where like I've had just the youth of today is rocking my world. And I'm so motivated to be doing what I'm doing, but I also feel old really fast. And what gives me hope is their mindset, their passion, the pain that they have lived through, and what they are going to do with it to make the world better. Yeah. I don't even have kids yet, but I just want to hug all the kids for everything they're going through and how they're going to use it to fix our world for us. Yeah.
So let's, a couple of things we didn't do yet. How do people reach out to you? How do they learn more about Castle Financial Partners?
Sure. CastleFinancialPartners.com. My email is Andrea@CastleFinancialPartners.com. So I'm pretty easy to find there. I'm also on LinkedIn. Pretty easy to find me there. And yeah, we also have, if you go to our website, you can click right to our individual LinkedIn pages. So you should be able to find me kind of either way you're going there. And I'd love to talk. Anybody that wants to have a conversation.
All right. So I'm going to send people to the website if they want to reach out to you and connect with you. But LinkedIn,
sure.
Your email and all of that is all right there.
All right there. Okay. CastleFinancialPartners.com. Partners spelled out with an S.
Did I do it? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I did it right.
Yep.
What else we forget to talk about?
I don't know. How are you doing? Tell me about what's
Doing
going
great.
on here. The pledge has come a long way since the last time I was around, and yeah.
Well, how about we do that after I hang up? We'll spend
Sounds
some
great.
time because I just
I
did
don't think
a
we
life.
missed anything here. I think you let me say what I came here to say, what I will say to anybody who will listen, which is how much I love what I'm doing. If you don't want to talk to me, talk to someone. And if you have any questions, it doesn't matter if you're ready to plant or not. Start asking and ask a person. If it's not me, if it's not your advisor, ask someone who you trust who their advisor is. Because it's just so important. I just want people to know that it's these conversations, even if you don't know it or don't feel it, or if no one has ever told you before you heard it from me, these conversations are too important to skip. Yeah.
And I'll just say some things.
Okay.
Get the change jar going, everybody. I mean, if you don't have a lot, you don't feel like you can save, get the change jar going. I don't know why I keep saying guard.
Yeah.
That's not for a pack of cigarettes, though. I guess I'm sure I've done that many times in my life.
No, here's a good trick. I tend to, even saving or helping people learn to save or be able to save, think about what you want that money for and write it on the jar. And even if it just says, future Andrea, or, getting out of, I hate getting out of debt. I do want to say no one's financial goal should be to get out of debt, because what you do then is you think about your debt all the time and you won't ever get there. So whatever the goal is that's going to move you forward, that thing that you want to look forward to doing, man, put it on a sticky note, put it on a piece of paper and use packing tape and just make sure that's on the jar, so that every time you look at that jar, you know that by feeding that piggy bank, you are feeding future you and your future dream, whatever that may be.
Yeah. I think before I quit smoking once, and well, I've quit smoking a few times.
Haven't we all?
And put that money into a jar every day, that pack every single day, and that helped quite a bit.
Absolutely.
And helped me, I'm saving my life and I'm preparing myself for the future. And that was super effective because I spent a lot of money on cigarettes.
Yeah. And that's a great point. If there is any, this is what I tend to call them, but this is with no judgment and this is new language, but a money leak. If you have something you're spending money on that isn't a need and feels like you can part with it, that's one of the easiest and best things you can do for yourself, is plug a money leak and redirect that into a future goal, because you won't even feel a change other than better. You won't see a difference in your bottom line if you can take one thing off as a line item and move that money into something else, even something as small or not small as smoking, right? Yeah.
I have all kinds of addictions. I also enjoy gambling. And, I used to play like Keno all the time and stuff like that. And I find myself, the shutdown helped me a lot because I couldn't go out. And it was really just an excuse to go to a bar.
Yeah.
But not having that, I kind of shifted my obsession with, I check my accounts every morning. I kind of make sure I know where my money's at, how my investments are doing, how my crypto's doing. And that somehow satisfies the same kind of urge that I had. I've got something to do and I feel like I can, I don't know, winning $1 million tonight sounds like more fun than saving $1 million over 40 years.
It sure does. But you know what I heard out of that, from that practice? That is you building a relationship with your money. Like you're getting to know each other better because you're seeing each other every day. And you weren't seeing each other every day before the pandemic. You were seeing, money go where money goes. So I think visiting your money online and just visiting your accounts or your notebook with your list of accounts or whatever it might be, visiting your money and just saying hi in a friendly way can be something that you do for your money. Because if you look at that list every day and you're like, oh my God, well, that feeling's never going to get better. But look at that list and be like, oh my God. And okay, I looked at it today. That's something that I hadn't been willing to look at in a really long time. good job me. I have a better relationship with money already. I mean, honestly, it can be just as simple as being willing to look at the situation and not want to overreact to it. Just say, okay, this is manageable. I don't know how. You don't even know. I have to know how. I don't know how I'm going to manage this yet, but this is manageable. And that's those little things just inside are what help get people to be willing to have a conversation with someone else. Yeah. Not to get all woo-woo, but I am kind of spiritual. Like, this is my gospel. Like, how do we learn how to like our money? How do we learn how to like ourselves so that we're willing to have those important conversations? Yeah.
Well, what would you like to take us out with?
Oh, gosh.
It could be just deuces.
No, I think what I just said is something that I didn't think was left unsaid, but I want to say again. Even if you're not in a good financial situation, try to find a way to pull the last dollar out of your pocket and just say, I love you. My $1. Like, I love money. I love this $1 that I have, because that $1 will not feel like enough, right? If it's your last dollar. A lot of us are really there of like, and don't get me wrong, the stress is real. But in order to have real conversations, we have to bring the stress down. And so bringing that stress down, it doesn't have to be looking at that $1. I mean, it will be looking at that $1 going, oh, what can I buy for dinner with $1? But after that thought, maybe just go with, I love you. I don't know how I'm going to buy dinner with $1 yet, but I love you $1. And see where that goes. And hopefully you have more than $1 and it's not your last dollar. And whatever feels like not enough, try to say, I love you anyway, money, because that is how we start to change the flow. And yeah, everything else I think I've said before, I could say it all again, and I'm sure I will, but out of respect for everyone's time here, that's the one part. Try to love the money that you have and try to open up yourself to those conversations wherever you may be. Just start where you are and do what you can. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this discussion and coming on the show and all of that. And I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Every damn day at 2 p.m. Tomorrow we'll have Andrea Brown, a young man starting a mobile detail company and part of the One and All program. So everyone, we will see you later. Have a great day. See ya, Andrea.
Bye.
Bye-bye.